go from coach and then go into questions.
2-game week before I get a chance to come back and speak to you all. One on the road with Delaware State on Thursday, and then on Monday we have our kids game, which is the best game of the year on Monday. So really looking forward to playing two teams that are not similar in styles, but they're both HBCUs. I thought it was important for us to have a balance of levels of play, but also I think it's important as an alum of an HBCU. I got my master's at UAPB. I thought it was important that we had an opportunity to play on the road. Hopefully the band is there for Delaware State, and then at home with Jackson State. That just worked for our schedule with the kids' game. Jackson State has a new coach, but they have been owning the SWAC, and then Delaware State has a fairly new coach in the MEAC. So excited about both opponents.
You said before you left that you wanted the result to be a win if you could, but you wanted film. What did that film tell you after that game in Paris?
Oh, man, we've been chewing on it. I mean, KK Hedges told me she came to watch film before this, and she said, "Are you really going to pull up the Paris film again?" I'm like, absolutely. It's just so much as a coach we were able to get from that film. And even when I talk to SE staff, they say the same thing. Like, it's just how often right now in the non-con do you get to play a kind of equal opponent? It's not wise for you to do it nonstop, especially if you know in conference you're going to play top teams all the time. So it's just when you get a film like that so early, you really can drive home the things that you want. That's important. As a coaching staff, you could look and analyze and say, we need to get better at this, or we do this well, we need to figure out how to make this work. And we have been chewing on that film since we left, and we'll probably chew on it until we play another Power 5 opponent, because there's so many things in there that maybe we can get away with doing versus UAPB, but not versus, Boston College, or maybe even Delaware State or Jackson State, But I'm just saying from a height standpoint, we won't be able to get away with some of the things that maybe we can get away where clearly there's a physical advantage.
What obviously the score was what it was, but how did you see the team respond and kind of just answer at the travel, just everything from the first half of the week to get to Sunday?
Yeah, I was worried about that, but it is what it is. I was impressed with the fact, our maturity. I thought that our players came out and treated UAPB with a tremendous amount of respect. I did not see a drop-off of our defensive vitamins, our system, the things that are important to us. I saw us really focus on the things that we have been talking about in practice. And one game is just not going to be enough. It's the whole non-conference we need to continue to get better in those spaces.
I've seen KK kind of coming back 2 games now, but each game so far.
Yeah, I told KK, I said, you're doing well and you're doing some good stuff, but the next step is securing the win, making sure that you do whatever it takes to secure the win. Just like Jackson Dart, he's a quarterback, she's the quarterback of our team. And so just teaching her what that looks like, what we need on and off the court for us to have success. And I still think she's at about 75, 80%, and I'm excited about where she could continue to grow as far as from a floor management aspect.
A little bit different vibe of a trip tomorrow than the first one y'all took.
Yeah.
Like, that one kind of, y'all are set for the rest of the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, no, but again, hopefully the crowd comes out to Delaware State. This was the closest we could get Maddie home. So we wanted to try to get her as close to home as possible. And so I know she'll have a good crowd, and hopefully the students appreciate the fact that we're coming. Because here's the thing, Power 5 schools don't go and play at HBCUs often. So hopefully we can have a great crowd, and they make it an incredible environment for both teams.
I'm going to kind of change the direction. So, this being the 50th year, what's your goals for the year?
Well, we definitely don't want to let our alums down. Really, it's just to continue to build on everything that came before. I mean, I'm fortunate to be a part of some of that 50, 6 years of it so far, and then this will be my 7th. But really, it's about the goals are for us to, get better every game in the non-conference, be incredibly competitive in conference play, and put ourselves in the position to potentially host. And I don't think you play in this league if that's not a goal of yours. From day one, when I was fortunate to be the helm of this program, I talked about where we are now. And so as the leader of the program, you have to think about where you are, but where you want to go. And it would be pretty cool for us to maybe get in the history books like those teams of the 50 years, the Elite Eights. Ole Miss has never been to a Final Four. People say all the time, I shouldn't talk about it. Oh, we went to the Sweet 16. The next step should be Elite Eight. While I agree to that, if we get to Elite Eight, why not try to get to the Final Four? So that's what no ceilings means. Just not putting a limit on our group and just continuing to leave a legacy here at Ole Miss.
How did the coaches before you here at Ole Miss shape the way you coach these women?
I think coaches before me everywhere have shaped the way. I didn't have a chance to study Van Chancellor and Carol Ross, but I'll tell you this, they've been phenomenal resources for me. I always reach out to them. They actually reach out to me more than I reach out to them. Before a big game, after a big game, after a tough loss, when we have a great win. Those two have been great. And then we have players that are still around, Arminty Price Harrington, we hear from her all the time, one of the Elite Eight members. Tawana Smith, she just spoke to our team when we had a team retreat. Of course, Peggy Gillum, Jennifer Gillum, we have the list goes on and on of the people. We have another alum that's in town that has been just here getting back healthy. We have so many people that have been a part of the 50 years that have poured into us, poured into our team, and poured into our players, and poured into me as well.
What's your biggest highlight over the 7 years that you've been here at Ole Miss?
Probably seeing the program go from where it was to where it is now, So it's just not one thing. It's a compilation of just 6 years of just hard work. Me sitting in front of you all and asking people to be patient and telling people that we're a crock pot, we're not a microwave, and using those analogies, and now being in a space where we're recognized in both polls as a top 25 program and being invited to elite level tournaments. I think that's the highlight. And then more importantly, seeing my players, seeing them accomplish their goals and dreams, seeing my players get drafted and go overseas and play professionally, some get into coaching, just following their dreams. All of those things have been, to me, what I think are just highlights of my time here, and that's why I've appreciated it so much.
You have been a player and a coach in these last 50 years, not exactly
Right.
here, but how has the sport of women's basketball changed in the years that you've played and coached?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me advice all the time about, how to turn the program around. And if I'm being completely honest, I can't even really say because in the 6 years I've been here, so much has changed. When I took over the program, we did not have the transfer portal rules that we have today. We did not have NIL. We did not have, shoot, the media following. We didn't have those things. So I kind of had to do it the old school way. Now you can take over a program that's been incredibly bad, and you can make it pretty decent in a year. I mean, look at what Coach Kiffin has been able to do. He came in at a beautiful time when, they were allowed to jump in that portal and recruit out of there, and then the one-time transfer. And so the game in itself has evolved. Now, as far as women's sports, I think people are just catching on into the beauty of our sport, the beauty of our game. And no doubt there have been specific people that have helped with that. Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, the list goes on. But no one would know about them if it wasn't for media. And I think social media has helped with that too, because now you have outlets coming from all over the place because of social media and the opportunities that it provides from TikTok or any space podcasts. And I think once people started to see what the game is about, like a lot of people didn't know women dunked in the game, and then they get to see highlights of it. And so I think the media ramping up their support and giving us the exposure. We played on ESPN. I think all of that has gotten us to a place where people get to make a decision for themselves, see the product that's on the floor, and appreciate it.
And speaking of media pushing it out there, how do you want to push out the message that more people need to be coming to these games? Like, what do you want to tell the students of Ole Miss about?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I think the Oxford community has no doubt wrapped their arms around me, my family, and our program. There's no doubt. And we're a small community, so we're stretched pretty thin. But the difference is the on-campus students. We've upped our population in student enrollment, and I would like the culture to become one that supports women's basketball. I think that's just the final piece. And it's not me just crying about it. You've heard Coach Kiffin talk about it. You've heard coaches all over the country talk about how important it is to have a sixth man. And I'm telling you, I don't know if we win that game versus Georgia if we didn't have the fan support that we had. And the biggest lesson to me was, a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, there were a lot of people that were ready to cancel our guys, and they came out for the Kentucky game, and we didn't win. But true supporters of the game show up every time. And it may not make you have an undefeated season, but I know the most times when we've had incredible fans and support, we've won games. We knocked off Tennessee last year. We took South Carolina into overtime. We knocked off a 15-point deficit to LSU and took the lead. That's because of our fans. The adrenaline, the atmosphere, the energy is necessary. And I think there is enough students to kind of divvy it out, And so my goal is to have a couple sellouts this year, but definitely from the student section, get them to start putting us in their itinerary and agenda of events. And I think once we get that, that's when you'll see the championships start rolling in, because teams don't win championships. Communities, administration, teams, students, they win championships.
Awesome. Any more questions? Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.